Hello and welcome back. It's Lois here from Lois and Morgana Davidson Art, and today I'm going to be showing you how I painted this loose watercolour landscape, a beginner-friendly summer fields painting. Absolute beginners may want to watch this through a few times, then practice on some sort of scraps of paper on the backs of old paintings and just practice some of the techniques until you feel comfortable with them. But I hope you'll enjoy painting along with this lovely vibrant summer scene. But just before I start, a quick plug for my book, Landscapes in Watercolour, Techniques and Tutorials for the Complete Beginner. It's available to purchase from all good bookstores. I'll leave a couple of links in the description below. It's packed with tips and tricks and 10 step-by-step tutorials, 5 pure watercolour and 5 line and wash. So follow the link below if you're interested. Pause the video here if you want to have a look at my faint pencil drawing. I've just really loosely positioned my horizon line, my trees and my field and path. And I'm going to use the wet in wet method. First I'll have a nice strong cup of coffee, which should just get me in just the right mood for watercolour painting. I'm using Saunders Waterford cold press watercolour paper. It's taped to my board and my board's at an angle of about 20 degrees. I'm going to use the wet in wet method, so I'm using a large wash brush. This is a 1.5 inch Princeton Aqua Elite Mottler brush to wet the page all over with clean water, leaving a few dry patches here and there. This will give me a range of soft and hard edges, soft passages of paint where I paint into wet paper and harder edges where the paper is dry. This is cerulean blue mixed with ultramarine blue, and you can see I'm painting around my clouds, leaving unpainted paper for the clouds, and where the paper is wet it's softly diffusing, and where the paint is a little bit paler, where it's run out on the brush, you can see that I'm getting some different values of blue, which is giving me the lovely suggestion of this rich deep blue summer sky with these white clouds just scudding through the sky. It's really important not to overwork a sky like this, so I'm leaving it like that. I'm using my 3/4 inch flat brush, clean and damp, just to run across the horizon to clean up that horizon line. And now I've dipped into perylene green and sap green, using the tips of my brush to create a simple distant tree line. And now I'm following my pencil outline with the same two colours, leaving a few little gaps or sky holes to put in my middle ground trees. I'm varying up the shape of my trees by changing whether I use my brush, the corner of my brush, or whether I use the tips. So it's really good for beginners right from the start to get used to using different parts of your brushes, and also to vary up the shades of green by dipping into the sap green and perylene green in slightly differing amounts. I've now dipped the brush straight into permanent yellow, so that's mixing with and blending with these lovely greens on the page, and that's giving me this lovely bright summer freshness and these deep shadowy greens that you always see in high summer. Putting some of that yellow across the horizon line so that I will have the look of the sun gleaming and glinting on the distant field. And now I can start to introduce a bit more green into my field and start to bring the field down following the perspective lines that I put in pencil at the beginning. This is using mid value, again altering up those colours and then beginning to introduce some vertical patches of paint across the foreground, so I can start to begin to build up the look of the crop in the foreground, just suggested rather than painted in detail. Using the fan brush here can really help to start off those subtle vertical crops, and then leaving the path unpainted for now and just painting in this part of the field on the right. And then I'll dip into some darker perylene green and start to introduce a few shadows here and there while everything's wet. And you can see how these darker shadow colours are really helping the other colours to pop out. This is my size 5 palette knife, and I'm using the tip to scrape through the rich paint just to start off a few tree trunks and branches. If you don't like doing this, then wait until your painting or this part of the painting is dry, and then you can paint in trunks and branches using sepia and Payne's grey. Just building up a few more shadows here and there. So at this point, really, it's a matter of sort of adjusting things very lightly and slightly just to get things working, making sure that tree areas are properly connected. And so I'm dragging my palette knife through that new dark piece of shadow, again, so that I can bring that tree trunk in front of the shadow. And then just before it dries, I can scrape some vertical grasses through that rich paint in the foreground. Again, just to build up that suggestion of that tall crop. And on the other side, this is very pale value burnt sienna, which is perfect for painting in just a bit of an earthy path. And then back to the fan brush to add some darker green between the lighter strands of grass in the foreground, keeping the brush vertical, giving me those lovely effects. I'm just going to soften the transition between the path and the edges of the fields with a clean, damp, flat brush. And when I'm happy with the way that looks, I'm going to lay my board flat to dry, but just before it dries, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of fine ground table salt into the damp paint in the foreground. Because the paint there is nearly dry, each little grain of salt will just push that damp paint away slightly and just give me some really pretty effects and textures for my foreground field. It now needs to dry completely. And here's the dry painting. I've raised it back up to an angle of 20 degrees and I've used a clean dry brush to brush off any salt crystals that didn't dissolve. But I'm very happy with the pretty little effects that I've got. I'm now going to use a mixture of Payne's grey and sepia with a little bit of ultramarine blue in it and my small calligraphy brush to paint in a few of the tree trunks and branches to darken them up around the areas that I scraped through with the palette knife. And also I'm going to use some perylene green, nice and rich and dark, to paint behind the tree trunks in places. This is going to help me to create really nice strong contrasts at the base of the trees, just giving a little bit more definition to the painting just to finish it off. Now for my favourite part, removing the tape and seeing how it looks with its clean white border. And I'm really happy to share this with you. I'm pleased with the freshness, the simplicity here, and I think with some work it could be done by beginners and intermediates alike. I like to think that beginners are anybody that does tutorials or demos or is looking to start painting and is following some sort of instruction. Intermediates are those that can work more independently. So if that's you, then I'm hoping that there's something here, maybe a few ideas here that you can take forward into your own independent work. If you're new here, welcome, and don't forget to look back through our back catalogue. We have hundreds of demos here that I'm sure that you'll really enjoy watching, and then hopefully they'll inspire you to sort of bring some of those ideas into your own work. Please click on the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and if you're not subscribed to our channel, then why not consider subscribing? It's free to do and it really does help with our reach here on YouTube. And thank you so much to everybody that supports our channel on our Patreon pages. We really do appreciate you. I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.